I've always been the responsible one. That's just how it's always been. When you're the older sister, people expect more from you. You're the one who has to behave, set the example, and take the blame when things go wrong, even if it wasn't your fault. My name is Sheila, and ever since I can remember, I've had to carry that burden. Meanwhile, my younger sister, Barbara, always got away with everything. Barbara is 3 years younger than me. From the moment she could talk, it was like she could do no wrong. My parents adored her. She could break something, lie, or stay out too late, and they'd still find a way to excuse her behavior. We could make the exact same mistake, but I was always the one punished. I remember once, when I was 16 and Barbara was 13, we both snuck out to a party. We got home at 1 a.m., and were caught. I got grounded for a month. Barbara, she just got a little lecture about making better choices. After that, I stopped trying to keep up. I turned all my focus to school. If they were going to treat me like the responsible one, then I would take that role and make something of it. I studied hard, earned good grades, and eventually graduated high school with honors. I got accepted into a solid college with a partial scholarship. It felt like all my hard work was finally leading somewhere. Barbara, on the other hand, barely scraped by in school. She cared more about dating and hanging out than studying. My parents seemed concerned at times, but they always excused it, saying she was just finding herself. By my 3rd year of college, I was juggling a lot, my classes, a part-time job, and visits to my great-aunt Mildred, who lived about 20 minutes from campus. Aunt Mildred was my dad's aunt, an independent, sharp-tongued older woman who lived alone. I started helping her with groceries, house cleaning, and just spending time with her. She appreciated me. She never compared me to Barbara, never made me feel like I wasn't enough. "You're the only one who visits me," she'd say, holding my hand as we sat in her living room. "Your sister never comes, and your parents only stop by during holidays." "I like being here," I'd tell her, and I meant it. While Barbara dropped out of high school and got her GED, I kept working hard. She said she had no plans for college and didn't want that kind of life. My parents still hoped she'd change her mind. When Barbara turned 18, she ran away with a guy named Rick, some random guy with a motorcycle and no job. My parents were heartbroken. They called the police, hospitals, even hired a private investigator. They cried almost every night. Then one day, 3 months later, Barbara just walked through the front door like nothing had happened. "Rick turned out to be a jerk," she said at dinner, completely unfazed, "so I dumped him and came home." And just like that, they welcomed her back. No consequences, no serious talk, just relief that their golden girl had returned. While all of this happened, I kept moving forward. I was in my final year of college when I got a call that shook me to the core. Aunt Mildred had passed away peacefully in her sleep. At the reading of her will, I was stunned to learn she had left me $150,000. "All of it? She left it all to you?" my mom asked, sounding more confused than happy. "That's what the lawyer said," I replied. "She updated her will last year." "Well," my mom said, her voice tight, "you were always her favorite." It stung, as if they couldn't imagine that maybe I was just the only one who actually showed up for her. I didn't get the money because I was her favorite. I got it because I cared. Barbara didn't take the news well either. "That's so unfair," she snapped when I came home for a visit. "You get a degree and a pile of money. What about me? What about you?" I shot back, unable to hide my anger. "You had every opportunity one did. You just didn't take them." Of course, my parents rushed to defend her. "Sheila, don't be so harsh," my dad said. "Barbara's still trying to figure things out." That was their favorite phrase, figuring things out. But how long does that take? At 22, with a business degree and $150,000 in my account, I decided to finally do something for myself. I'd been quietly working on a business plan, a consulting firm that would help small businesses improve how they operate. With Aunt Mildred's money, I had a real chance to make it happen. My parents thought I was being reckless. "That money should go toward a house," Mom said, "or your future. A business is risky." "I've done the research," I said calmly, "and I believe in this idea." They gave me the look they always gave me when they thought I was being difficult, but this time, they couldn't stop me. The first year of running my business was hard. I worked almost non-stop, trying to find clients and prove myself, but little by little, the company grew. I hired my first employee after a year. By year 3, I had a small team and an office. Meanwhile, Barbara floated from one job to another. Nothing ever stuck. She'd occasionally ask me for money, and even though I knew better, I'd still help her sometimes. My parents still protected her, saying she needed time. I was 27 when I met Steven. He worked in IT for one of my client companies. We saw each other in meetings, and one day, he asked me out for coffee. "I've been trying to ask you out for weeks," he said, nervously. "Really?" I laughed. "I just thought you were very passionate about firewalls." He was kind, smart, and hardworking. He respected my drive, but also reminded me to breathe sometimes. It felt good, natural. After 2 years of dating, he proposed during a weekend trip to the coast. I said yes. We planned a small wedding by a lake, just close friends and family. I wasn't one for big events, and Steven understood that. 2 weeks before the wedding, I called my parents to finalize things. "Has Barbara RSVP'd?" I asked my mom. "The caterer needs final numbers." There was a pause. Then she said, "Oh, honey, Barbara won't be coming. She's going through something intense with a new boyfriend." I didn't ask for more details. Truthfully, I was a little relieved. Our relationship had been tense for years. I didn't want any drama on my wedding day. And the day was perfect. Steven looked amazing in his suit, and for once, I felt like I was truly seen. My parents were happy, though my mom mentioned, more than once, how Barbara would have loved the cake. After a short honeymoon in Maui, Steven and I returned home. That's when he sat me down. "My company's going through changes," he said. "There's a lot of uncertainty. I've been thinking, what if I came to work for you?" I was surprised. "It's risky," I said, "mixing marriage and business." "I know, but I've seen how much you need someone to manage the back end. That's my skill set, and we can set clear boundaries." I thought about it. He was right. I needed someone I could trust, and I did trust him. Eventually, I agreed. Steven joined my company as the operations director. We worked well together, balancing marriage and business. For over a year, things were great. The business kept growing. Steven did a solid job running things when I traveled. We were building something, together. And then, I got a phone call. One that would change everything. 4 months after I hired Barbara, I came back from a long and exhausting 2-week business trip. I was looking forward to getting back to work and returning to normal life, but something felt off the moment I stepped into the office. Frank, our head of security and someone I had known and trusted for years, was acting strangely. He was usually direct and respectful, a former police officer in his 60s who never minced words, but now, he avoided eye contact. In meetings, he seemed distracted. He'd start to say something to me, then stop himself and walk away. When I passed him in the hallway, he looked at me with pity in his eyes, like he knew something I didn't. After a few days of this odd behavior, I couldn't take the tension anymore. I asked Frank to come to my office at the end of the day. He looked nervous as he sat across from me, fidgeting with his hands. "Frank," I said gently, "something's bothering you. I can tell. Please, just tell me what's going on." He hesitated for a moment, then finally said, "Miss Sheila, it's the security footage. There's something you need to see." My heart sank. "Show me," I said. He handed me his tablet and pulled up a video from the previous week, when I was away on business in Chicago. What I saw made my whole body go cold. On the screen, I watched Steven, my husband, and Barbara, my sister, laughing together in the hallway. Then they kissed, passionately. Seconds later, they disappeared into the storage room together. Frank swiped through more footage. Different days, different places in the office. More of the same, Steven and Barbara, kissing, touching, sneaking off together. "How long has this been going on?" I whispered. Frank looked at me sadly. "At least 3 months, he said. "I'm so sorry." After he left, I sat alone in my office, staring at the wall in silence. I felt like my entire world had collapsed. All those times I traveled for work, all the praise I'd heard about Barbara's performance, all the nights Steven said he was working late, it had all been a cover. When I got home that evening, Steven was in the kitchen, humming while he cooked dinner, acting like everything was perfectly normal. I didn't say a word. I just took out my phone and showed him one of the videos. His face went pale. "Sheila, I can explain." "Explain what?" I snapped. "That you've been sleeping with my sister in my own company?" "It was a mistake," he said quickly. "It didn't mean anything." "I have dozens of videos, Steven. Don't lie to me. Sheila, please. Get out, I screamed. Pack your things and get out of this house. You're fired, and so is Barbara. While he packed his belongings, I drafted the termination paperwork. I sent an urgent message to HR and had their company access revoked immediately. The next evening, my phone wouldn't stop ringing. My parents were calling over and over. I finally answered. Sheila, what's going on? My mom asked, sounding both upset and defensive. Steven's at our house, and Barbara is crying non-stop. You need to come here and fix this. Something about her tone didn't sit right with me. Did you know about them? I asked. There was a pause, just long enough to confirm everything. When I arrived at my parents' house, all of them were there, Mom, Dad, Steven, and Barbara. They looked like they were waiting for me to make things right. Without a word, I connected my phone to the TV and played one of the videos. The room went silent. My mom gasped. My dad looked away. Barbara sobbed even louder. How could all of you betray me like this? I asked. My mother quickly composed herself. Sheila, nobody meant to hurt you. These things happen. Sometimes people fall in love unexpectedly. Barbara reached over and grabbed Steven's hand. We've been in love for months, she said softly, and I'm pregnant. My heart dropped. Pregnant? I'm almost 4 weeks, she said, placing a hand on her stomach. We were going to tell you next week. I could barely breathe. That doesn't make this okay, I said. Steven leaned forward. You can't fire us like that. That's illegal. Sexual misconduct in the workplace is more than enough reason, I replied coldly. My dad tried to calm the situation. You're overreacting. No one should lose their livelihood over a mistake. Steven's voice turned threatening. We'll sue you for wrongful termination. You'll have to pay us both severance. Barbara wiped away her tears, but now her expression was hard, calculating. My doctor says this stress is putting the baby at risk. I have documentation. If I miscarry, that's on you. I stared at her in disbelief. So this was planned? We're getting married, Barbara said, as soon as the divorce is final, and we're going to hold you accountable for everything. Firing a pregnant woman? The media will tear you apart. Mom nodded. Barbara needs security right now. You need to give them their jobs back. Or what? I asked. Or we'll file a lawsuit first thing in the morning, Steven replied. Wrongful termination, emotional distress, endangerment of an unborn child. Dad sighed heavily. You've left us no choice. I looked at them all, stunned. So this is how it is? You're all siding with them? We're family, Mom said. You're acting like you don't belong to us anymore. I looked at Barbara. You slept with my husband. Barbara glared at me. You were never home, always working. What did you expect? I stood up and walked out. I didn't look back. The next morning, I called James Patterson, a top lawyer who handled complicated divorces and business cases. I told him everything, the affair, the threats, the lawsuit. James listened carefully, then asked, Are you sure the only issue here is the affair? People who cheat in personal relationships often steal in business too. Have you checked your company's finances? That question hit me like a punch. I hadn't thought of that. Let's start there, he said. By the end of the week, James had hired a team of forensic accountants to dig through my company's records. What they found was worse than I could have imagined. Steven had been stealing money for months. He funneled money into personal accounts, Barbara's accounts, and even my parents'. He disguised it as vendor payments and reimbursements. Barbara was running her own scam, fake business trips, fake expenses, and receipts for luxury items like designer clothes and spa visits. Even more shocking, my parents had received payments too, consulting fees. They had never worked for my company. They were all in on it, I said, stunned. James nodded. This isn't just about divorce anymore. This is fraud and conspiracy. Just as we were preparing to take legal action, they sued me first, claiming wrongful termination and discrimination. Steven demanded alimony, claiming he helped build the company. Barbara played the role of the fragile, stressed-out pregnant woman in court, crying, clutching her belly, whispering to her lawyer every time I spoke. She's trying to make me lose my baby, she sobbed. My lawyer countered with solid evidence, bank statements, forged documents, and surveillance videos. They even discovered that Barbara had faked her college degree, but the biggest shock was discovering she had done this before. Other men had filed fraud reports against her in another state, cases that were dropped after my parents paid them off. In the end, the judge ruled in my favor. Stephen went to prison, Barbara got probation. My parents avoided charges but lost everything. I returned to work, sold the house, bought a condo, cut off all contact with my family. I focused on rebuilding my business, my peace, and my future. I don't take calls from them, I don't answer their emails, and I don't feel guilty. They made their choices, and I made mine. Today, my company is thriving, I'm stronger, wiser, and free. Whatever happens next, it'll be on my terms.